Assalamu alaikum everybody. I hope everyone is well, and I am just going to be adding the mock. Walaikum assalam. How are you? Okay, so I have uploaded the mock. You guys can check out the link. Just click on the link, guys. The link is in the description. You can check it out. I am also going to be. I've also posted the link in the comments as well, and you can check out the mock link in the group description. And I want you all to start the mock in. I want you all to start the mock in like 3, 2. Assalamu alaikum. Hi guys, let's start. So how was the mock? How were the questions? And start करते हैं इसको. Okay, question number one. Yes, question number one का क्या? What do you guys think of the answer to question number one? Question number one would be what? Would question one be A, B, C or D? जी, A होगा, B होगा, C होगा, क्या होगा? One would be B. Are you sure one would be B? Yes, the correct answer to question number one is B for boy. The full employment level of output was lower in year 2 than in year 1. Simple MCQ. We know that the BPC is representing the full employment and the maximum potential. So the inward shift in year 2 means that the country is now going to produce fewer goods, both of good X and good Y, which is simply implying that there's a fall in the full employment level of GDP in the economy. Question number 2 says, what is a normative economic statement? Now, yes, question number 2. What would be the answer to question number 2, guys? 2 would be जी 2 का आंसर क्या होगा? Question number 2 would be जी 2 would be D. Are you sure 2 would be D? Yes, 2 would be D. Taxes are the best way to discourage smoking, which is a normative statement. Because normative statements जो होते हैं, we know that they are value judgments, and they cannot be tested, they cannot be proven. They cannot be proven right or wrong or true or false without right, so you can't test them. And option D ka andar, there's a subjective word that they are the best way, right? So this is simply a value laden opinion. So question number 2, the correct answer is D for David. Okay, clear hai sabko? Good hai? Okay. Question number 3. The market for tractors is supplied by two firms X and Y, each having 50% of the market. A 10% increase in the price of tractors led to an increase in the 50%. Led to an increase in the output from X of 10% and from Y 20%. What is the price elasticity? What is the price elasticity of supply of tractors in the market? G. Boy? Are you sure it's boy? Everyone got boy as the right answer? Yes. So if we could assume that X is making 100 and Y is making 100, so the supply of X is 50, and the supply of Y is also 50, and now S2X would be 10% increase हुआ, right? So that would be 55, and S2Y should be 20% jump हुआ है, so that should be 60, and total increase is basically S2. Now the supply is basically 55 plus 60, which is 105. Previously the supply was 100, but now supplies went to 60 plus 55 कितना होगा? 60 plus 55 would be 115. My bad, 115. So it went up from 100 to 115, right? So the percentage change in quantity supplied is 15%, and you divide that by the percentage change in price, that should be 10%, and so the answer should be 1.5, that is boy. Question number 4 says, the government establishes a buffer stock scheme for wheat to stabilize between the price floor of 150 per ton and a price ceiling of 200 per ton. In a particular year, if the QD is 1000 minus 2p, quantity supply is 500 plus 3p, if the market price without intervention would fall below the price floor, then how much wheat will the government need to purchase to maintain the price floor. Yes, what is the correct answer, guys? Question number 4. Yes, question number 4. Anyone? Shayan says A. Simran says A. Anyone else? A is in fact the right answer. And this is a simple question. For instance, अगर आप demand ले लेते हैं या supply ले लेते हैं, right? So just leave the equilibrium price for now. But what they've said is that, you know, the price floor is 150 per ton, and the price ceiling आपको दिया हुआ है 200 per ton. So if the market price without intervention, if the market price without intervention would fall below the price floor, how much wheat will the government need to purchase to maintain the buffer stock price floor? So agar our price floor is basically 150, right? So quantity demanded would be 1000 minus 2 times 150, right? And QD would be how much? QD would be this should be 7000, while quantity supplied should be 500 plus 3p. So 500 plus 3 times 200, 500 plus 3 times 150, and that should be how much? That should be 950. This is 700 and this is 950, right? तो अब बात यह है कि हमने प्राइस फ्लोर सेट की हुई है, राइट, 150 पे, ठीक है. नाउ हमने प्राइस बेसिकली व्हाट वी हैव डन इज कि वी हैव सेट अ प्राइस फ्लोर एट 150, and then the question is saying if the market price without intervention, without intervention would fall below the price floor, how much wheat will the government need to purchase to maintain the buffer stock price? Now obviously without the intervention the price would fall because there's a surplus, right, at 150. We know that at 150 there is a surplus because 950 is the quantity supplied while 700 is the quantity demanded. So the quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded at, if the government sets a price floor, or the government wants that the price should be maintained at 150, so there's a surplus of 150. Now basically if we want this price to be maintained, then what the government would want to do is that the government would need to buy up the surplus of kitna hai, 700 minus 150, 700 500 950 is 250. So the government would basically have to buy up this surplus of 250, right? So if the government basically buys up this surplus of 250, right, so usse hoga kya that the government would enter into the government would basically enter as a buyer in the market. That would basically sort of, for instance, if this is 950, ye 150 hai, this is 950, this is 700. So what will happen is that the government will enter as a buyer, and this would basically increase the demand, and so it would sort of maintain that price level, right? So the government would basically purchase all of this, right? It's intervention buying. The government would intervene and make sure that it buys up all that, right? So it's A is the correct answer. Got it? Everyone clear on this? Guys, is this clear? Is this question clear? Everyone? सबको क्लियर हो गया है? ठीक है? Okay. Question number 5. What is the answer to question number 5? G. Question number 5. During final exams, the Education Ministry partners with a startup to give access to free access to a premium learning app for 30 days. Students must log in using their student IDs, and access is limited to 2 devices. After the period, the app returns to being subscription based. Okay. So what is the economic classification of the learning app during and after the campaign? So Fazan says A, Umaima says A, Hunzula says A, Shan says A, Zainab says C, Simran says C, Metallic says C, MD says C, and C is the right answer. C would be the right answer, because simple reason being कि अगर आप इसकी question की nature देखें, it says see you so what exactly is happening before is that during the exams, right, the government is basically running this campaign. It's giving free access to learning app for 30 days. यहाँ पे public goods and private goods का clear distinction is not about free access or not free access, something like that, right? The characteristic of a private good and a public good is basically non-rivalrous and non-excludable, right? And it says that after the exams end, it returns to subscription-based model as a price being charged. So you guys might be thinking that, okay, fine, if the government is providing the app at free of cost, then it's not charging anything. So this would be basically an app where no prices are charged, so this should be a public good. Just because you need to understand this very carefully, that is, government is providing something free of cost at the point of use. And I remember that when I was in my courses as well, I've taught this to my students, that if the government is providing something free at the point of use, if you guys can actually refer to your PDFs where I've actually mentioned this line, if government is providing something at the point of use, it is not a public good, right? So unless and until the characteristics of rivalrous and non-rivalrous and non-excludable are being met. So if the government is providing something, see, the government can provide a private good free of, for example, a hospital. It's a private good, but the government provides it at the point free of cost. The government provides it free of cost for government hospital. Government hospital is a private good. It's not a public good. So just because government is providing and it's free of cost doesn't make it a public good. So for differentiating between private and public good, we have to see whether the characteristics of rivalrous and non-excludability is being met. See, it says that in order to basically use this particular app, you need an access, right? You need access, you need a device, you need a Wi-Fi. So if you don't have a Wi-Fi or you don't really have the device or something, then you can't access it. So it's non-excludable. Only those people, sorry, it's excludable. It's excludable. So only those people can use it who will have the device, who will have the Wi-Fi, right? So this makes it excludable. And then it's also rivalrous because, it's rivalrous because the more the students would use it, see, you have to understand, the more the students would use the app, the more people are, so it's just like a website being used, but it is being used by hundreds and thousands of people. So the website crashes because there's a lot of load on that website. Similarly, if there's a lot of load on that particular app, then it will reduce the functionality and it would reduce the user experience to people individually when there is not a lot of congestion on that app. Right? So this is the reason why the good is a private good. So हमेशा जब भी आपके एग्जाम में सवाल, whenever there's a question in your exam where they're asking you whether it's a private good or not, you don't have to look at whether it's free or not free or government. You have to look at whether it's excludable or non-excludable. It says during the exam, the education ministry is partnering with a startup to give free access to premium learning app. ठीक है, if it's free access, if the government is providing a free access to premium learning app, definitely for 30 days, it's still a private good. That learning app is a private good because you need Wi-Fi, you need a device to access it. Just because government is providing free, government has said कि we are partnering with you, it's free, doesn't make it a public good. And obviously after that is over as well, it's still a private good. Is it clear, guys? So 5C is the correct answer. Are we good on this, everyone? ठीक है, got it. Question number 6 says a firm sells the same product in two markets. In market A, PED is minus 0.4. In market B, the PED is minus 2.5. The question says, which pricing strategy should the firm adopt to maximize total revenue? Yes, guys, what is the correct answer? Question number 6. The correct answer to question number 6 is C. It should increase the price in A, decrease the price in B. And this is sort of a discriminating model of pricing, but yeah, because that's what is going to increase total revenue. Economic theory says that if PED is less than 1, then price should increase in order to increase total revenue. And if PED is greater than 1, then price should decrease in order to increase total revenue. Pretty simple question. Question number 6 is C for Charlie. Question number 7. Yes, guys, what is question number 7 going to be? The correct answer to question number 7. Yes. What will be the correct answer to question number 7? Question number 7, the correct answer should be C for Charlie. The reason being is that yes, the demand curve, firstly the supply curve is starting from the vertical axis. So whenever the supply curve starts from the vertical axis, it is basically PS is the greater than 1. But as you move along the supply curve, right, and as you go up the curve, as you move along the supply curve on a linear upward sloping supply curve, the PES basically reduces, right? So the correct answer for question number 7 is C. And you can check out my YouTube video on elasticity along the supply curve. It's a YouTube video that will make this topic proper and solid for you guys, right? And similarly, if the supply curve was starting from the horizontal axis, okay, if this supply curve was basically starting from the horizontal axis, then in that case what would happen is that if the supply curve was starting like this, then it would have been inelastic, and it increases as you go up the supply curve. So whenever supply curve starts from the horizontal axis, the PES is less than 1, and it increases as you go up the supply curve, right? And for the rest of the 3 cases where supply is perfectly inelastic, elastic, and unitary elastic, it is constant, and it does not changes along as you go up and down the supply curve, right? It's the same at every point on the supply curve. Got it? You can check that video out. Question number 8 says the workers in a factory earn $240 for a 40-hour week. The management offers them a choice between either a 10% wage increase or an increase in the weekly wage to $260 along with a reduction from 40 to 39 hours. Disregarding the value of leisure time, what is the opportunity cost to each worker of opting for a 39-hour week? Yes, guys, question number 8. What is the correct answer to question number 8, students? Okay, Shayan says A, Fazan says A, Metallic says A, Zainab Shazad says A. MD also says A. Hunzala says A. Okay, so A is the correct answer, and the reason is that reason bhi sun le, because at times you get the correct answer but probably with the wrong reason. So if you're getting the right answer but you don't really know the reason, so it's wrong. So the management is offering, so let's suppose you're working in a factory and the management is saying, oh, you know what, we're going to increase your 10% wage, but you still need to work for 40 hours. So you still need to work for 40 hours, but we will increase your wage from 240. We increase it to 240 times 1.1, that is $264 a week. So this is option number 1. And the second option is, or they say that, okay, fine, your wage is not going to go to 264, it's going to go to 260. But we'll reduce your working hours to 39 hours, but still, 260 would be your wage. Now, the opportunity cost, clearly we can see that the opportunity cost is that, this dude, if let's say this dude selects 39 hours while a week, so he forgoes $4 ki wage, right? Because he's earning 260 if he goes for a 39-hour week rather than a 40-hour week. So he goes for option 2. He's going to forgo $4, but then he's forgoing $4. That is what the value, the opportunity cost is the value of those, the value that you're forgoing. So the value, the $4 extra that you could have potentially gained, that you're forgoing, right? So that's your opportunity cost. But then the point is that although he's forgoing $4, but he's also gaining, but he's also spending less 1 hour. 1 hour less is being spent at work. So 1 hour being less spent at work means, 1 hour being spent at leisure. So although the opportunity cost is $4, but then that's his cost, but then he's also gaining something. Now, here they are saying that you ignore what the leisure is. You ignore the gain in leisure, so ignore that. But had the question not said that, then definitely they would have given you some monetary gain based on leisure. Okay, what is that gain from leisure fees? And if a monetary gain for leisure would have been given, let's say they would have said, okay, the 1 hour that he's saving, he could probably do some extra part-time hustle or something like that, or say, he could have gained some potential income. So then you would have netted off the loss versus that gain, and then you would have calculated the opportunity cost. But here they are saying that disregarding the value of the ledger. So the correct answer is A for alpha. Question number 9 says the government imposes an indirect tax on 2 goods, petrol and luxury handbags. The price elasticity of demand for petrol is estimated at 0.2, while luxury handbags is at 1.8. The same tax rate is applied to both goods. Which of the following best explains how the incidence of tax will differ between these two markets? Fazan says the answer is C. Hunzala says the answer is C. Yes, guys. So is the answer C? Are you right? Yes, the correct answer should be C. And obviously, because consumers will bear a larger share of burden or of tax on petrol, because the elasticity of demand for petrol is 0.2, and when the demand is inelastic, a lot of tax burden is shifted on the consumers, while if the demand is elastic, then producer absorbs the burden himself, right, instead of transferring it on the consumer. So producers will bear more tax burden on for handbags. Correct answer is C for Charlie. Question number 10. Yes, guys, what is the answer? What is the correct answer to question number 10? Yes, question number 10. The correct answer to question number 10. What do you guys think? Fazan says boy. A local farmer sells 5 boxes of mangoes at a market price of $40. At a market price of 40 per box. The following table shows how much each buyer was willing to pay. So the market price is $40 per box, right? How much each buyer is willing to pay. So for each box, let's say, okay, so this guy is willing to pay 70 and he pays, so consumer surplus is willingness to pay minus what you actually pay, right? So he is willing to pay 70, he pays 40. So the consumer surplus should be how much? 70 minus 40 is how much is it? It's 30, right? There should be 30. 60 minus 40 should be 20. 55 minus 40 should be 15. 45 minus 40 should be 15. And 40 minus 40 should be 0. And what about buyer F? So the buyer F will actually not buy. This buyer is not going to buy, right? Because obviously his willingness to pay is less than what he is actually going to pay. So he shouldn't be buying that. He shouldn't be buying this good because he's willing to pay 35 while he would end up paying 40. So why will he buy it? So this dude, buyer F, will not buy it, right? Because if he buys it, then he will have a negative consumer surplus on each box, right? So he will not buy it, right? He does not buy it. So this transaction never happens, right? And so in the market, we only have these 5 buyers for mangoes, each having their own consumer surpluses. And so if you sum that up, right, 30 plus 20 plus 15 plus 15, so you have like 80, and 80 is the correct answer. The correct answer is am I right? Have I done something wrong? पता नहीं, मेरा तो 80 आ रहा है. Buyer D is 5. अच्छा sorry, हाँ सही है. Buyer D 5 है ना. Okay, जब ही. Okay, so the correct answer फिर कितना होना चाहिए? फिर होना चाहिए इसका correct answer 70 हो जाना चाहिए, right? Yeah, 70. So we're good. 70. The correct answer is boy. And 10 ka boy ho gaya. Okay, so 10 is boy, and let's move forward. Question number 11 says a new model is released at 1200. 6 months later it sells for 900. Early buyers feel regretted while later buyers report high satisfaction. Which statement best reflects this situation? See, early buyers have a higher consumer surplus is incorrect. This is wrong, by the way. I'll tell you why. Later buyers gain more consumer surplus due to lower price. This is correct. This looks correct, right? Consumer surplus is irrelevant for durable goods. Why is it irrelevant? I mean, this is just an incorrect statement. I mean, this statement has nothing to do here. Both groups are the same. This is also incorrect. Both groups did not have the same consumer surplus. So, right. So again, very pretty simple, because a new model is released at 1200, and if we assume early buy, so the correct answer is boy, but obviously for boy the assumption is that the willingness to pay is the same here. Okay, the willingness to pay is the same. So let's say that the willingness to pay is 1500 rupees, $1500, right? That's the willingness to pay. So the consumer surplus for the early buyers would be willingness to pay minus what you pay. So 1500 minus 500 minus 1200 is 300 is the consumer surplus for early buyers, while for later buyers the willingness to pay is still 1500, but they end up paying 900. Maybe they didn't just buy for any reason, so for them the consumer surplus is 600, right? So the later buyers are earning a much higher consumer surplus, they benefit more, and it simply means because obviously they waited for some time for any reason, but they are benefiting more because they are gaining more value by paying less for something that they could have paid more, and they just feel they're just going to make fun of these early buyers. Okay, look, we gained so much more. So boy is the correct answer, but okay, obviously the assumption is that the willingness to pay is the same, and we don't have, this is just because all the other answer options are wrong here. The price elastic demand for good X is 1 at the price of 12. The quantity demanded is 4,000. What will be the price when the quantity demanded is 20,000? G. So what would you think would be the answer to this question? What would be the price when the quantity demanded is 20,000? So 20,000 के ऊपर quantity demanded क्या होगी? What would be the quantity demanded? G. So the PD is 1, right? It's unitary elastic, and when something is unitary elastic, total revenue, total expenditure is the same. So let's take out total revenue or total expenditure. So that is simply price times quantity, and that is 12 times 4,000. So this should actually equal to the revenue that you will gain when you're consuming the new quantity at the new price. So the new price is P1 times the new quantity demand is 20,000. So P1 should be equal to, correct answer should be boy 2.4. So you'll multiply 4,000, 12 times 4,000 divided by 20,000 is 2.4. Got it? Question number 12. Question number 13. Yes guys, 13 says the market price for wheat, the government sets a maximum price of OP. What could be the maximum price to have an impact on the market? G. Question number 13. Anyone? Question number 13. C. PD पॉजिटिव लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे, वो मतलब टाइपो है, होगा -1 ही ना, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली बिकॉज प्राइस तो 12 से 2.4 हो रही है ना, सो डेफिनेटली PD वुड बी इन माइनस. ओके, दिस जस्ट अ टाइपो. So question number 13, you guys are saying C. Okay, ठीक है. Why do you think it's C? Question number 13. What makes you say 13C is the correct answer? See, you have to understand that a maximum price is imposed below the equilibrium. Firstly, the government sets a maximum price of OP. So, see, the maximum price of OP right now is ineffective. So this won't really work. For the maximum price to have an effect, the maximum price has to be below the equilibrium. So right now, by definition, you need to understand that maximum price would only be binding, or it would be effective if it's below the equilibrium, right? So if OP, if OP is a price or maximum price above the equilibrium, this price is non-binding. It's ineffective. So the market still clears at the market price, right? Now the question is asking what could cause the maximum price to have an impact on the market, right? So what could cause the maximum price to, right now, maximum price is not going to cause any impact in the market, but what could potentially cause the maximum price to have an impact on the market, which means that what could make the previously non-binding price ceiling to become binding or to become effective. So let's say that if by the way, this is the diagram is illustrating for wheat, right? So wheat and bread are basically complements, right? So an advertising campaign for bread. So an advertising campaign for bread would increase the demand for bread. But if the demand for, it's not just the demand for bread will go up, the demand for wheat will go up as well, or simply wheat based bread would go up as well, because both are complements. So bread is a complement to wheat. So increase in the demand for bread will increase the derived demand for wheat, right? And so the demand curve for wheat is basically going to shift inward to the right? It is going to shift to the right. If the demand curve for wheat shifts to the right, let's say it goes up, right? So the market price would basically go up from initially the price was let's say P1, and now the price goes to P2. So the market price is now P2. Ab market price P2 hai, this is above the I mean ab kya hoga, basically now this maximum price that the government has imposed would become effective. Why would the maximum price now become effective? Because now the equilibrium price is much higher than the maximum price. So what they're saying is that now the maximum price will be effective. Ab the maximum price will prevail. Now this price will not prevail, but the government imposed maximum price will prevail. Initially the maximum price was above the equilibrium, so it was ineffective. But now, since the demand has gone up, it is going to push up the market price. Since the demand has gone up, it will push up the market price. Then it is basically going to make the maximum price now effective, because you have to understand that in order for the maximum price to be binding, in order for the maximum price to be effective, it has to be set below the equilibrium price, and now this is below the equilibrium price. So that is what makes C the correct answer. Faizan Ahmed, excellent. This is exactly what the reason is, that demand curve will shift to the right and the equilibrium price would rise, or the market prices would rise, which will make the maximum price effective, because obviously now it makes sense to actually pay a lower price for wheat when the market prices are higher. But it doesn't make sense for people to pay the maximum price when the market prices are already lower. Question number 14 says the government wishes to encourage the consumption of a merit good and reduce the consumption of a demerit good. So what policy should we adopt for each good? Question number 14. G, what would be the answer to question number 14, guys? Question number 14. Anyone? Question number 14. The correct answer to question number 14 has to be B for boy, because for merit goods we should definitely go on for advertising, because advertising would result in benefits, and it would just, merit goods are under consumed, right? So we need to increase the demand to increase the consumption to socially optimum levels through positive information campaigns. And for demerit goods, we need to put legal controls on output, because demerit goods are over consumed. So if we use these legal restrictions to curb or control the output, it would work. So 14 is boy. Question number 15. Market demand is simply the sum of the demand for individual people. So you need to add these up, and this would equal to the market demand. And you can figure out where the market, किस point पे they are equal. So इसका correct answer is actually C, because at $9, if you add 2,800 and 2,500 and 2,900, it comes to 8,200. So 8,200 is the demand and 8,200 is the supply. So the market price has to be 9. So C for Charlie is the correct answer for question number 15. For question number 14, Zainab says, why not D? C, you're not going to take D, because if you look at D, for merit good, subsidies could work, right? But set a minimum level of output is not going to work for it's not going to work for क्या कहते हैं demerit goods, because it would be counterproductive if you sort of set a minimum output ke bhai, and plus it wouldn't even be effective as well. So again, ye counterproductive hoga, it wouldn't be effective, so it's not going to be beneficial. And अगर आप इसको बाकी सारे देखें, imposing a minimum price for merit goods will not work as well. Producing only in the public sector would not work as well. Tax output for demerit goods will not work as well. Confine access to certain age groups will not work. So merit goods for subsidies will work, but not for for demerit goods. So because उसकी देखें, बात ये है कि जब आप मिनिमम लेवल ऑफ आउटपुट लगा रहे हैं ना, सो आप कंजम्पशन तो नहीं रोक रहे ना, बिकॉज इफ़ यूर सेटिंग अप अ मिनिमम लेवल ऑफ आउटपुट, देन यू आर एक्चुअली guaranteeing the availability of a certain amount of supply for this good, and it would just worsen the negative externalities. सही है. So effective policies for demerit goods, for legal controls क्या करेंगे? Legal controls would actually discourage the consumption. That is why. Okay. So 14 का जो correct answer होना चाहिए, that should be boy. Put legal controls on output rather than set a minimum level of output. सही है. Also for merit goods भी subsidies तो work करेंगी, but again B is a much better option. It's just targeting the root cause. Now it's increasing the advertising, is basically directly accessing the root cause of the problem. And वही वाली बात कि demerit goods में भी आप जो हैं वो देखिए, legal controls on output में आप ban भी आ सकता है ना. It could be a ban as well. Maybe you just ban it. It's a legal control ना. You just ban it. You're just converting the law. You're just amending the law. But setting a minimum level of output में you're actually guaranteeing the output of maybe 100 units, or कि भाई 100 units आप ज़्यादा नहीं बना सकते, but 100 units आप बना रहे हैं ना. So B is a much better option than D, basically. ठीक है. Moving forward, question number 16 says, which type of unemployment is associated with a deficiency in aggregate demand? So as far as it's concerned, cyclical unemployment जो होती है, that is basically because your deficiency in AD, it occurs in a recession when the demand is too low than what it should be. So A is the correct answer for question 17. Question number 16. Question number 17 says, country alpha and country beta both produce two goods, computers and rice. With 1 unit of labor, alpha can produce 10 computers or 20 kgs of rice. With beta, while beta can produce 6 computers or 12 kgs of rice. And recently a policy debate has emerged in alpha on whether to focus on food security or maintain its position in high tech exports. So country alpha here, we have country alpha here, we have country beta here, we have computers here, we have rice here. So 10 and 20, and then we have 6 and 12. So if you look at the opportunity cost ratios, the opportunity cost ratios comes up to 1:2 and 1:2. So trade takes place based on David Ricardo's principle of comparative advantage, and trade would be beneficial between two countries if the opportunity cost ratios differ and they specialize in which they have a comparative advantage in. That's a basic fundamental rule for international trade to take place, to specialize in which you have a comparative advantage. And so trade is not, so there's no gains from trade. There will be no gain from trade. In fact, trade shouldn't take place. The opportunity cost ratios are exactly the same. So the opportunity cost ratios has to be different. And in fact, I have a YouTube video on this as well, explaining this concept, that why the opportunity cost ratios have to be different, and there will be no gains from trade or no trade at all if the opportunity cost ratios are exactly the same. So 17, C is the correct answer. A nahi hai answer, because it says A says country alpha has an absolute advantage and a comparative advantage in both computers and rice. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. ठीक है. To find out a comparative advantage in something, you need to see that which country can produce it at a lower opportunity cost. You can't see that over here, because the opportunity cost ratios are exactly the same. So you can't find out a comparative advantage. There's no comparative. Both are producing computers by foregoing the same rice. Both are producing rice by foregoing the same amount of computers. Okay, so question 17C is the correct answer. Question number 18 says an economy with a floating exchange rate is in a recession and at the same time has a deficit on the current account of its balance of payment. Which policy combination would be most likely to help? With both of these problems. Question number 18 says. Question number 18. The correct answer would be A for alpha, because if you decrease the interest rates, the consumption goes up, the investment goes up. It's an expansionary monetary policy, and if you keep the tax rates unchanged, expansionary monetary policy would do the job. But obviously, so if you reduce the interest rates, reducing interest rates would cause hot money outflows, and hot money outflows will depreciate the currency, and when the currency depreciates, your price of exports goes down and the price of imports goes up, and this together causes net exports to go up, which causes AD to go up, and as a result recession goes down because three things are happening. AD is going up for three reasons. Number one, your C is going up because of a fall in I is going up because of a fall in interest rates, C is going up with a fall in interest rates, and net exports are also going up because falling interest rates is having an impact on your exchange rate because it's causing a depreciation and you have a floating exchange rate system. Got it? So A is the correct answer. Question number 19 says the table below shows the macroeconomic data. In millions for a country, year 1, year 2 and year 3, assuming no current transfers in all of the years. In which of these years the country is most likely to run a deficit on the current account? Okay. So G. So what do you think is the correct answer? Shayan says C. Simran says C. Why do you think it is C? मतलब क्या सोच के आप लोगों ने सी लिखा है यहाँ पे? क्यों लिखा है सी? Why? Fazan says C. So anyone, why do you really think it is C? What's the reason for C? Like, there has to be some reason why you guys said C, right? So I'll explain it to you. How do you need to do that? And this is sort of a calculate x minus m by subtracting P and C and नहीं तो GNP में और GDP तो GNP and GDP is different now. What you are doing is you're subtracting gross investment is less than expenditure. No, that's not the reason as well. I'll explain it to you कैसे करना है. आप लोगों ने C तो ले आए हो. You guys have ended up with a C, but you guys don't really know the correct reasoning for it. And because you don't know the correct reasoning for it, if the question twists in a way, then you will struggle. In fact, you would still have struggled had had the answer options been a bit more twisted. Then you would have struggled again. I'll tell you how this is done. This is first of all GNP. And if you guys know the formula for GNP is basically, what is GNP? GNP is GDP plus net factor incomes, right? यही होता है ना GNP plus net incomes or net factor incomes, right? Now, net factor incomes is basically what? Your employee compensation, it is your incomes, your employee compensation आ जाती है इसमें, it is your rent, it is your interest, it is your dividend and profits. Technically, this is basically primary income in the BOP. Sorry, in the current account. This is technically the primary income in the current account, right? It is the income that is recorded under primary income in the current account, right? Now, I want you to focus. Okay, so ये हो गया. अब let's now rearrange this. Let's say GNP is equals to what is GDP? GDP stands for C plus I plus G plus net exports plus net factor income हो गया ना. So if I rearrange this equation, I'm going to rearrange it like this, right? This identity would be rearranged like this. Now I want you to focus on these two things. I want you to focus on net exports plus net factor income. If I add secondary income here, see, this is primary income. Net factor income is primary income. And if I add secondary income here as well, so don't you think that net exports plus net factor income plus secondary income is a current account balance? Because what is net exports? Net exports stands for balance of trade of goods and services, right? Balance of trade of goods and services. If you add net factor income to balance of trade in goods and services, plus you add the secondary income, that is current transfers, what do you end up getting? You end up getting current account balance. ऐसे ही है. Got it? Now I want you to focus or pay very close attention here. We are making an identity here. The question says assuming no current transfers in all of the years, which means that there is zero secondary income. The question is asked you to assume that there is zero secondary income. कि हमारे पास there is no secondary income, right? There is zero secondary income, which means that this amount is zero. So let's just erase it then, right? Or let's just keep it. But we'll just, so basically, technically, all of this is current account. Okay, all of this is current account. But since this is zero, so I can just remove this and say that this is basically whatever the values that I'm going to put over here and here would give me the current account balance. Now I could further rearrange this identity and say, that GNP is equals to C plus I plus G plus current account balance. Now I want you, so current account balance would be equal to GNP minus C plus I plus G. Do I make sense to everyone right now? This is important. You guys have worked out C, I don't know in whatever way, but if you do that in an exam situation, you might end up with the incorrect answer if they twist the data. This is a very good question. This is a very thought-provoking question. This is challenging and testing your core concepts. So we come up with an identity where it says that the current account balance is equals to GNP minus C plus I plus G. So you have so let's take year 1 basically. Year 1 mein GNP is 500 minus C plus I plus G, that is 300 plus 120 plus 90. So 300 plus 120 plus 90 is 510 minus 500. So in year 1 we have a current account deficit. In year 1 we have a current account deficit of 10. हमारे पास straight up यहाँ पे value आ रही है current account deficit की, that is negative 10. ठीक है. Now I want you to do the same for year 2 and year 3 as well. देखें आप लोगों ने क्या किया. I'll tell you what you guys did. You guys basically did exactly the same thing, but without knowing why are we doing that. Because if आप जब इसको 500 को माइनस इससे कर रहे थे ना, तो आप इसको GDP समझ के माइनस कर रहे थे. You guys cannot deduct this from 500 thinking that you are deducting GDP, because that is incorrect. You are actually deducting GNP from C plus I plus G to arrive at the current account balance. Just because you ended up with the right values and the right answer without the concept doesn't mean that you actually knew the concept. So this is the concept. Sense? Make sense? Good question. ठीक है. So आप year 2 में भी निकाल लो. Year 2 में भी exactly आपके पास, you will have a deficit of 10 million, I think in year 2 as well. And in year 3 as well, you will still have a deficit of 20. So got it? That is what makes C as the correct answer. Are we good with this, guys? Everyone? Good to go and move forward. Is that a yes? Question number 20. Yes, guys. Question number 20 का answer क्या आ रहा है? What is the answer to question number 20? Question number 20 says the table. Question number 20 says 20 is C, very simple. What देखें यहाँ पे आपको, अच्छा ये मैंने आपको चेंज करवाया था ड्यूरिंग द एग्जाम. आई सेड दिस इज 100. सो इन्फ्लेशन रेट आपको दिया हुआ है 10%. दे कैलकुलेटेड द इन्फ्लेशन रेट, बट ऑब्वियसली what you need to do is that you need to calculate the weights, right? So this is basically 25%, this is 30%, this is 20%, this is 15%, and this should be 10%, right? Now what you need to do is that you need to multiply the weights with the increase in price level, because you see inflation rate though for each good they have calculated it, but they have given the weight separately, which simply means that this price level change, that is the rate of inflation, does not factors in the weights right now. So you multiply. So what you do is that you do 0.25 times 10, 0.3 times minus 5, 0.2 times 3. So you'll end up with some values, right? So ये आपके पास हो जाएगी 0.25 times a 10, this should be 2.5, 0.3 times a 5, this should be 1.5, 3 into 0.2, this should be minus 0.6, 0.15 times 5, this should be 0.75, and 2 into 0.1 should be 0.2. And if you add them up, you need make sure that you're minusing 0.6. So 2.5 plus 1.5 minus 0.6 plus 0.75 plus 0.2 would, am I doing correctly? I think कुछ calculation error तो नहीं किया मैंने, शायद कुछ करा तो है मैंने गड़बड़, देख लो. I think somewhere I've messed up. No, 2.5 plus 1.5 minus 0.6 plus 0.75 plus 0.2 is sir, it's minus 1.5. अच्छा हाँ, sorry, it's minus 1.5, my bad. It's minus 1.5 and this is plus 0.6. Sorry, my bad. 2.5 minus 1.5 plus, so the correct answer should be 2.55%, right? Got it? इसका एक और भी तरीका था करने का. इसको आप इस तरीके से भी कर सकते थे कि आप ये 10% इंक्रीज दिया हुआ है ना. सो व्हाट यू कुड हैव डन इज दैट यू कुड हैव टेकन द इंडेक्स. यू कुड हैव सेड द न्यू प्राइस इंडेक्स इज 110, this is 95, and this is 103, and this is 105, and this is 102. But this is the price index, it's not a weighted price index. And you could have multiplied 110 by 0.25, 95 by 0.3, 103 by 0.2, and 105 by 0.15, 102 by 0.1. और आपके पास जो भी values आती हैं, you would have added them up, and the index would somehow come to 100 plus. The index would have actually come up to, अगर आप इस तरह करें तो आपकी index weighted price index निकलेगा 102.55, and the base year index is 100, so you deduct 102.55 minus 100, so you still get the inflation rate 2.55. ठीक है, got it? Question number 21. 21 says the budget balance, and then yeah. Okay guys, question number 21 का आंसर क्या होगा? What is the answer to question number 21? Anyone? 21. देखें, एग्जाम में ना आपके 27 से कम मार्क्स नहीं आने चाहिए. 27, majority people who are working hard, they will end up with 27. ठीक है? So 27, nothing less than 27. 25, 26, no. You need a 27 minimum. Nothing less. And I'll tell you something, that जो बच्चे अच्छे से practice करके जा रहे हैं, they've done the topicals, they've done yearly, so they will end, उनके 25 out of 30 तो a good student will get. So these 5 MCQs that you are usually struggling in every paper almost, out of these 5 MCQs, you need to make sure that you make the least minimum mistakes. And instead of doing 5 wrong, you do probably only 2 wrong, or none wrong, or just 1 wrong. Okay, 21 ka correct answer would be, what is the correct answer for 21? 21 का correct answer क्या होना चाहिए? Which of the following? 21 should be boy, na? Simple. So, which of the following shows the most likely effect of a large increase in government spending, assuming no change in interest rate? So, if your budget balance is basically in a deficit, that is, the government spending is going up, so obviously it will also result into AD will go up, and that will result into inflationary pressures. Okay? Got it? So 21 is boy. ठीक है. So you have demand per inflation here. This inflation is basically demand per inflation. Are we good? See, budget balance जितना deficit में जाएगा ना, so a deficit, if the budget balance is in a deficit, it's budget deficit. So budget deficit is a sign of expansionary fiscal policy, right? So it will result in inflation. Which argument is an importer most likely to use to gain the support of free trade? Question number 22. Yes, question number 22, guys. What is the correct answer? The correct answer for question number 22 should be what? What do you mean spending on investment? Kisme it's spending on investment. But what it's spending on investment? नहीं, बात ये है कि हम अगर वो even if it's spending on investment, so investment is a component of AD, it will result in demand per inflation. It's only that in the long run investment causes that takes a lot of time. It causes a shift in LRAS, which causes a downward pressure on price level, but that's a long run effect. Takes a lot of time. Investment, the immediate effect would be on demand per inflation because investment is a component of AD. Question number 22, the correct answer should be C for Charlie. And the reason for 22 C for Charlie is that yes, consumers would benefit here because consumers would benefit from increased variety and they would benefit from lower prices due to competitive pressure that we will have from importing. So yes, this is an argument. This will definitely be used to gain the support of consumers for free trade because consumers will get more variety and lower prices due to competitive pressure from imports. So consumers should benefit here. Okay. Question number 23 says the table shows an extract from a country's BOP. What is the current account balance? This is a very simple question. So exports minus imports karte rahe aap iska. This should be the balance minus 50. This should be minus plus 20. This should be plus 20. This should be negative 5. You sum them up. There's a deficit on the current account. So question number 23 is B for boy. Question number 24 says the graph shows an annual percentage change in price level. Okay, the graph shows an annual percentage change in price level. It shows an annual percentage change in the prices of services and the prices of goods between 2007 and 2011. So ये आपके percentage change दी हुई, these are not absolute. These are percentage changes in prices. ठीक है? What can be deduced from the graph? So services is basically in the positive zone. जब भी percentage changes दिया हुए हो ना prices में, or you could just assume that these are inflation rates given, let's say. So services में the prices are going up because they're in the positive range, while the goods में they were only in the positive range in 2007. After 2007, the prices have been falling for goods because they're in the negative, because the percentage change is negative. So whenever the percentage change is negative, then prices has to be falling. So question number 24 का जो reason होगा क्या होगा? What should be 24? On an average, the price of services was higher. A says on an average, the price of services was higher than the price of goods throughout the period. This is not true because yes, the price of services was higher than the price of goods, but it is not the best deduction that we can have from. This is not the best deduction that we can make. Because the reason being that goods were also initially on the positive side in 2007. So you have to understand that if goods are basically priced at, let's say, $100 and the price is going up by 2%, then goods should be 102. But if services are, let's say, in 2007 they're priced at, I don't know, maybe the services are priced at $10 and the price is going up by 10%, then they would be priced at 11. And this is saying on average the price of services was higher. So we can't really deduce something about the absolute prices, although yes, the rate of percentage changes was overall for services it has been on the positive side, while for goods the prices have gone down. But we still don't know the final price values. ठीक है? B कह रहा है the average price of goods was higher in 2012 and 2010. This is also incorrect because goods were lower in 2012 than services in 2010. Sorry, goods was lower in 2012 than in 2010. Achha, the average price of goods was higher in 2012 than in 2010. This is wrong because you see the prices are going down. So in 2012 the rate, so even if the prices are going down by 2%, they're compounding. So 100 se decrease ho jati hai by 2% and the value is less, and then 2% from here. So initially this was the prices, it goes down by 2%, and then 2% it goes down again from here, it goes down again by 2% or whatever. So again, so the price in 2012 is much less than the price in 2010. So this is incorrect. The correct answer should be C. The average price of services was higher in 2012 than in 2010. Because in 2012, services was just going up. Services throughout has been positive. So it will compound every time. So $100 or 10% increase, and maybe, I don't know, even if it's a 1% increase. But the 1% increase is basically on the increased value of all the previous increases in prices. So it's compounding, which makes the price of the good very expensive in the last year, that is 2012. तो आपके पास इस तरह के questions आते हैं, so हमेशा याद रखना, for such type of questions, the last year has to be the most expensive year if the inflation rate is in positive. And if the inflation rate is in negative, then the last year has to be the cheapest year because the price would be the lowest in that year. So that is what makes 24C the correct answer. Okay? G. Zainab, any questions? C is the correct answer. Yes, we don't know the initial prices. 25 is pretty simple. 25 should be D for David when withdrawals are is equals to injections. Clear equilibrium established there. 26, supply side policies often has fiscal consequences. Which statement is correct? So question number 26, the correct answer should be, yes guys, 26 का correct answer क्या होगा? 26 का जो correct answer, 26 should be, yes, 26 क्या होना चाहिए? 26 should be what? The correct answer to 26 should be C for Charlie. Reduced government spending reduces an economy's LRAS, and that is correct, and has a short-term expansionary effect on AD. This is not a correct statement because yes, a reduced government infrastructure does reduce LRAS, but it will not have an expansionary effect on AD. It will have a dampening or a deflationary effect on AD. So C is an incorrect statement. All the rest of the statements are absolutely correct statements, and this statement is correct till here, but this part is incorrect. So 26C should be the right answer. Question number 27 says the country is currently producing at point X on its PPC, and it's making 5,000 cars and 1,000 trucks. It decides to specialize in the manufacture of cars and import trucks, which means that ठीक है, उसको comparative advantage होगा cars में. It finds it can import one truck in exchange for 4 cars. Okay, so if you are gonna if you're gonna specialize in, so see, right now this country is producing 1,000 trucks and consuming 1,000 trucks and 5,000 cars, right? So if you're going to specialize in the manufacture of cars, then what you'll do is that you will not make 5,000 cars. In fact, you will make 10,000 cars with 0 trucks. So you're going to make 10,000 cars with 0 trucks because that's what you will specialize in. So all resources will be diverted to specializing in which you have a lower opportunity cost, let's say. So you're going to specialize in cars, and that's what is given in the question. So you'll make 0 trucks, right? It says what is the result in the domestic market if it exports all the extra cars. So how many extra cars will it make? Initially it was making 5,000 extra cars, now it will make 10,000. So how many extra is it making? It's making 5,000 extra cars. It's making 5,000 extra cars. Now you need to understand the exchange ratio. The exchange ratio is 1 truck is exchanged for 4 cars in place of, so basically it means that this country X will give away 4 cars and will get 1 truck in return. So if this country specializes in 10,000 cars and this country says that I'm going to specialize in 10,000, I'm going to make 10,000 cars, and I'm going to give away 5,000 cars because I'm going to give away all the extra cars that I was making than before, and I'll keep my car consumption at 5,000. I'll produce 10,000, but I'll consume 5,000 cars. I'll produce 10,000 cars, but I'll consume 5,000 cars, and give away the rest. So for 5,000 cars, this country is going to consume or import. This country will import how much? This country will import 1,250 trucks. So the country imports 1,250 trucks. So it's going to produce zero trucks. But it is going to consume how many trucks? 1,250 trucks. So how many extra trucks is now it is consuming? It is consuming 250 extra trucks. And this is a good position because you can see the country is clearly operating outside its PPC, and that's only possible. I taught you guys that consumption possibility exceeds production possibility. So now this country is consuming 5,000 cars, and it is basically consuming 1,250 trucks. Previously with 5,000 cars, he was producing and consuming 1,000 trucks, right? So yeah, 25 should be A for Apple. Question number 28 says the following table shows income and tax paid by 3 individuals in country X. Based on the data, which of the following best describes the type of taxation in country X? Yes, guys. So you're given income and you're given tax paid, and based on the data, what you need to do is that you need to calculate the average rate of tax. The average tax rate or the average rate of tax basically stands for your tax paid divided by your income is simply the average tax rate, right? So you're paying 6,000 as tax divided by 60,000, right? So how much is your average tax rate? Your average tax rate is 10% of your income goes in tax, and as your income goes up to 150, how much is the tax paid? I mean, these are 3 different individuals, right? It's not the same individual, 3 different individuals. So this dude with the lowest income, when Mr. B is basically, how much is he paying? He's basically paying, so this is basically 8%. And this dude C is the richest guy, but his average rate of tax. And if you guys remember, I taught you guys that although the richest dude will pay, the total tax that he'll pay would be the highest because obviously he's the richest. But the average rate of tax would be, the burden of tax would fall very less on this rich guy. Divided by 200,000, that's what I taught to my students, times 100 is 7%. And if you guys remember, I taught you guys that, this is simply showing that you have a regressive tax system. Because in a regressive tax system, the average rate of tax, falls as income increases. And if you guys remember, that's exactly what I taught you. This is exactly what you were taught. If you guys remember this image, right, that your average rate of tax falls, in a regressive tax system as income rises. This is what makes it regressive. The fact that the system is a regressive tax system is the fact that your average rate of tax goes down as your income rises, right? While the opposite is true for a proportional tax system. So the correct answer is B for boy. Question number 29 says, which of the following individuals would not be counted for in the official unemployment statistics? Question number 29, students. We are very close to ending the paper. Question number 29. What is the answer to question number 29? G. 29 का answer क्या होगा? 29 would be Sana is actively applying to jobs after being laid off. So if Sana is made redundant or laid off, so that is Sana is still actively seeking work. So she will not be counted. She's unemployed, but she's actively seeking work. So she will be counted, right? She will be counted. So she will be counted. Amir works part-time but wants a full-time job. Amir will be counted as well because Amir is underemployed, and underemployed people are those people who are working part-time. I mean, they aren't really fully utilizing their time and skills, and so they're underemployed, right? Underemployment is a concept that is different from unemployment. Underemployed workers or individuals are those people who are employed part-time, or they are in those jobs that are below their skill levels and experience, and they're willing to take on more hours or they want to get into more better positions. So right now, this dude Amir is underemployed, right? So he will be counted in the employment statistics, because he will be counted in the employment statistics because he's not fully, his job is not fully reflective of what he can, his potential basically. Although Amir is employed, but he's not employed up to his potential. So Bilal gave up his job hunting after months of rejection. So if Bilal is giving up his job after months of rejection, then clearly this should be the answer, because, and the reason why this should be the answer is that Bilal is a discouraged worker, right? Bilal is a discouraged worker, and he just quit the labor force. He's no longer part of the labor force, so he's not even counted in the unemployment statistics. So जब हम official unemployment statistics, official unemployment statistics basically include those who are without work, and actively seeking work as well, and they're actively seeking work as well, and they are available for work as well, right? So this guy Bilal, he just gave up job hunting because he's just discouraged. I'm just fed up, I'm just gonna just sit at home and chill. So obviously he will not be considered as unemployed. Okay, so C is the correct answer. Fatim Khan, yes Fatim, walaikum assalam. Good luck for your paper tomorrow. Okay, so C is the correct answer. Hunsala B nahi hai. Amir works part-time but wants a full-time job. Amir is not in the official unemployment. Amir will be counted in the official unemployment statistics. It's not that he will not be counted in the official unemployment. It's only C. Bilal will not be counted because he's a discouraged worker. He has just left. He's not even part of the labor force anymore. Maria recently graduated and is interviewing for entry-level positions. So Maria is unemployed. Maria would be considered unemployed. So 29D is also going to be included. Got it? Are we good? समझ आ गया सबको? सबने, everyone wrote C as the correct answer, right? Okay? C is the correct answer. Question 30. Which of the following is a normative statement? What is the answer for question number 30? Which of the following is a normative statement? So what is a normative statement? Normative statement जो होता है, ऐसा statement होता है, you guys know what. So the correct answer should be the government should increase spending. This is normative statement. देखिए बाकी सब positive हैं. Raising interest rates reduces consumer borrowing, and yes it does, because it can be proven, it could be tested. We can prove it whether reducing interest rates will reduce consumer borrowing or not. We can test it. We can prove it. We have stats. We have past records. We have evidences from the past economies. We have evidences from economic history. Budget deficit 6% was recorded last year. ये भी हम check कर सकते हैं. We can see that whether it is or not. Inflation rate was 7.2% in April. We can check that. We have evidence. We can reject it, accept it, whatever. The government should increase spending on healthcare to improve welfare. Now this is suggesting an opinion or a value judgment that the government should do that in order to achieve this. Now this is again a value-laden opinion, so this is a normative statement. Question number 30, David. And you can't really test normative statements, right? Ryan says, sir, I got very bad in this mock. What should I do? In your last mock I got 27 and this one 22. देखिए mocks की difficulty level थोड़ी ज़्यादा रखी गई है, उसकी जानबूझ के रखी गई है, because that's what, see, you never know what sort of question would come in the exam. And I'll tell you something. May June 24 की जो attempt थी ना, May June 23 की, May June 23 की attempt, I remember very clearly that was a confusing attempt, and students were very happy with the paper 2. It was easy, it went well, everyone was super great. But जो paper 1 हुआ था ना in May June 23, वो confusing आया था. उसमें बहुत सारे बच्चों ने MCQs गलती की थी because silly mistakes किए थे. लेकिन जब आप MCQs घर पे बैठ के रिलैक्स करके कर रहे होते हैं ना, उस वक्त आपका माइंडसेट बहुत डिफरेंट होता है. लेकिन जब आप प्रेशर में कर रहे हैं ना, आपके सामने टाइमर ऑन है, आपने 1 घंटे में ख़त्म करने हैं, आपको पता है अभी सब कर रहे हैं MCQs, राइट? तो उसमें आपका माइंडसेट अलग होता है. तो आपको मॉक्स इसलिए रखे गए हैं ताकि आपको इस चीज़ की ज़रा एंग्जाइटी सिचुएशन डेवलप करवाई जाए, यू सॉर्ट ऑफ गेट यूज टू इट. ठीक है? सो वी गोना बी गिविंग 2-3 more mocks, right? Tomorrow is mock 3, and I want you guys to let everyone know that we are having these mocks, because a lot of students still are not even aware that these mocks are being conducted. and encourage the students to come on the stream, attend these streams, give these mocks. It is for their benefit. The max you can do is that in these 4 days, the max, you just need more practice. And now you're done with all your other papers. You're done with accounts as well, and all the other papers as well. So economics is the only exam that you guys have. So practice, practice, practice. Bas practice karte raho. That is the only thing that will get you the best. Because again, I'm going to repeat that. See, the threshold for paper 1 usually is 22, between 22 to 24. That's a threshold, right? And paper 2 has been very, very easy, right? So there's a tendency or high chances that probably they might trick you in paper 1. So hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Okay, guys, on that note, I will end the stream and I'll see you tomorrow in mock 3. Until then, take care and Allah Hafiz.